It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hello, I'm Mike Kerner, and for Gary Shorman this week on the Forum, it's being brought to you by Hayes Med. And our guest this week is Chris Dinkel, industrial education teacher at Hayes High School. And Chris, I want to welcome you to the show here today, and you've won a lot of awards, haven't you?
The kids have done well. They've done extremely well. We've won our 4th and 5th state championship this year, and that would be the 4th and 5th in the last 4 years.
Wow.
And we've been a top 3 finisher for about 15 years.
We're going to get into all those awards here in just a few minutes, but I want to get to you and talk to you a little bit about when you first were in high school. Did you think you were going to be a teacher? Is that kind of where you decided you were going to go, or when did you decide you were going to be a teacher?
Actually, I never thought about teaching much till I got to college, and Dr. Fred Ruda became my advisor and good friend and a great supervisor for me and mentor. About my sophomore year in college, he talked to me about possibly going the education route.
So what was your path in high school, getting ready to go into college? What you think you were going to go into?
My thoughts were architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah.
And then you wound up as a teacher and getting hired because you're from Hayes, and now you're teaching at Hayes High. Was that kind of strange to go back to Hayes High? Well, were you Thomas More Prep?
I was a Thomas More Prep graduate, that's correct.
And
yeah.
then Hayes High, now you're there. So
That's correct.
Kind of a well-rounded education, I guess.
That's right.
But it's kind of strange to be back there, and you've been there so many years, and you've probably seen a lot of kids go through there, and sometimes you've probably even seen now some of the parents of, some of the parents that were, maybe your age, and all of a sudden now you know their kids.
That's the strange thing about it, is that I've got kids of the parents I had in school, so yeah, but it's neat. It's neat to come back and see those kids grow and flourish and see them have families. It's just a real neat experience to see these kids grow up in the same community, have some of the same educational experiences I had, and to do well.
Now, when you first started teaching, what were you teaching? Because this program you're doing now wasn't even around.
Actually, it started the year I came in
through
the Green Energies Act at a federal grant.
Mm-hmm.
And that started the very first year. We didn't participate the first year. Second year we caught into it. And then after the grant was up in 10 years, a bunch of us instructors and the utilities got together in kind of a grassroots organization and kept it going for the last 15 or so.
Are there some other classes that you teach, other programs you teach while you're there at Hayes High School?
Right, I have the drafting, architectural, mechanical drafting. I teach the production woods program as well, and then of course a research and design program where this is predominantly, the electric cars are predominantly built and designed. And
so now you're doing the electric cars, and we've seen them in a lot of parades. We've seen them on Hayes Post and all kinds of news stories. You guys have won so many awards. You talked about those here at the beginning of the show, and I guess it wouldn't be possible without those kids, and sometimes those kids really get into it, don't they?
They do. It's hard to stay focused. Those kids, they want to go about 20 different directions at times, but kids, when you let them loose and cut them loose, boy, they have some talent and some creativity, and we're using the core areas and using a lot of different science and technology, math and English skills that the kids incorporate into those programs, and that's what really we're after in the electric car program, is to go cross-curricular and develop, problem solve, and create a car that will perform its highest level with minimum amount of energy.
I would think there's a lot of physics and mathematics that are involved in that as well.
Yeah, and if you told that to the kids, they probably wouldn't take the class. But yeah, there's just a tremendous amount of information in physics and, like I said, science, and of course AutoCAD and the design structure. It's a challenge, it really is.
Do the kids know what they're in for when they get into the program, or they just hear cool things about it and get into it, or maybe other students talk them into it?
I think it's a lot of all that you mentioned. The students, they see a car run around a track, and right away they want a part of it. And as a freshman, we allow those students to come in through work nights on Tuesday evenings, so they get a taste of it. And yeah, we do have an attrition rate after a while. Some students decide, well, it's just not quite for them, whether it be for the work or for whatever reason, they decide that it's not for them. But for the most part, most students stick it out. Once they come in as freshmen, we carry about 6, 7 students through from freshman to senior level, and that's really beneficial to keep the same technology and the knowledge base going to where we can be successful year in, year out.
Now, when you started this, were the cars given to you as models, or how did you know how to build them? How did you know how to design them? Or is that something you guys came up with, or was there like a set design out there on the electric car circuit?
No, we've been somewhat of a leader on it. When we first started this program, there really wasn't much to go with, but The Kansas Electorally stems from the Electrathon America program, which was started, of course, through the Green Energy Act. So they gave us, some ideas how to set up the car and what type of materials to use, but it's pretty vague. The design process, we don't want to restrict that for the students. We want them to think outside the box. So, yeah, it was kind of a strange beginning. There were some really unusual designs and things that failed when we first started. Luckily, we've had a lot of people within the community that have gotten involved, whether it be the local machine shops, and gave us some ideas and things of that nature, and the kids just take off with it.
So they kind of help form their own. Now, is it different cars every year with the students, or do they start from scratch every year, or do they use cars maybe from the previous years or two?
We try to build a new car every single year, but we run 4 to 5 cars. So we try to do a 4-year rotation where we'll have a new car every year, and then we retire 1 car every year. It's one of those things where the electronics, the motors, the monitors and things of that nature that are pricey, we can use in cars every single year, each new car. But we try to produce a new vehicle every single year. That means trying to get all the students involved in the same process, and we don't miss their opportunity to explore and design and create.
Are these battery operated cars then? That's
right. They run on basically a 73-pound 24-volt system, lead acid system. We use like a D-cycle battery, yellow top type batteries or red top batteries. So what you're limited on is your power supply. You only have so much power to go 60 minutes.
Now, has that changed, or you see that changes with that down the road? Because you see more of these car companies have all kinds of money they're putting into these batteries now, and you're seeing that now with the car manufacturers. Does some of that technology filter down to you guys, or have you seen any of that yet?
To some degree, but the expense and the technology at that level, at the automotive level, is just extreme. So we don't see a lot of that trickling down yet. Although as we get into the gel cell, which has been around for a while, that's trickled down, and some of the different types of batteries that are out there are more dangerous than they're worth using. So we keep with a lead acid sealed battery. If we want to get kids to produce a car that performs at a high level, you have to create some variables that don't change, variables that stay the same and some constants that don't change. With that in mind, they can design about anything they want.
And you guys help give them some advice too, or you let some people come in and help them with advice too?
We do.
The way?
We do.
Very good. Well, we're going to talk about some of the awards and where you guys do these rallies and all that stuff in the second half of the show, so you can hang around, I hope.
I will.
Okay. Chris Dinkel, and he is the tech ed instructor at Hayes High School. We'll be back with him in the second half of the show. The show brought to you by Hayes Med. I'm Mike Kerner.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Are you frustrated with Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? It happens when you don't have Pulse, the cutting-edge Wi-Fi solution from Eagle Communications. A Pulse-certified Eagle technician maps your home, then installs a dual-band modem and router, plus discrete access points to deliver wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with no dead zones. Pulse powers all your family's devices in all the places you love to live. Get Pulse. Wi-Fi made simple. Only from Eagle Communications. Call today.
Welcome back to the Forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman. By the way, if you've got some show ideas, guest ideas, Gary would love to hear from you. It's gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. Again, gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. This is the Forum. Chris Dinkel is our guest today, and Chris is the tech ed teacher at Hayes High. And I say tech ed, and I have to look at my notes because that program's name has changed quite a few times, hasn't it, over the years?
It has. The curriculum pretty much has stayed the same other than advances in technology. But yeah, it's been regarded from industrial technology to traditional industrial tech. It's had a lot of names.
Now, it's under an umbrella, and what I mean by that is there like a state umbrella that you guys fall under, or your team falls under, where you do all the races? Is kind of a sanctioned kind of thing?
No, the Kansas Electorally is not actually associated with CTE or Career and Tech Ed. It's an independent organization. which is supported by local utilities, Midwest Energy, Sunflower Electric, Western Cooperative, and Walkini. Those are our big sponsors, but cooperatives across the state support it. Touchstone Energy is kind of the parent or organization that kind of represents all those organizations, but no, it's independent, and thank goodness for the utilities, because they're the ones who really support the programs and make it happen financially for us.
Now, you said you've been doing the program how long now?
I believe this is 22 years, 23
Wow,
years. Yeah.
Seems like a long time. Do you ever have kids that were in the program early in the early days come back and want to see how you're doing, or visit the school and look at it, maybe give some tips to the current kids?
Absolutely. Some do come back on occasion, but I get emails who have from students who have gotten online, taking a look at how well we're doing, and say, boy, that's really cool, you know, when we were part of it, and they reminisce a little bit. But yeah, it's really neat to see the students that they saw value in it, and they really enjoyed it, and for them to remember those things in their high school, of all the things we're going to remember, they're remembering that program. That's pretty cool.
And I'm sure you get some kids that come along that are shy, and this kind of helps bring them out a little bit and become team members. And because school is not just about education, it is, but it's also about making friends and people for life, friends for life, and maybe networking too for later in life with something.
You know, that's a neat thing that you brought up, because a lot of the students we get, you know, some of them are great athletes. Some are great in the classroom, and a lot of them are that student that do well in the classroom, but aren't your valedictorians, and not your scholarship winners on the sports field. So it's a great place for other kids who can excel in something else besides sports, education, all the other things that we have in the community forum. And
I also think it's probably good for some of these kids that might be shy out there. They become team members with people they might not have ever thought they'd be a team member with, and then make friends that they never probably would have made friends with before.
You're absolutely right. I remember our first state championship, and I remember a young man coming up to me and said, you know, I've never been a champion of anything. And you know, here he was a part of a 12, 20 team member racing team that won a state championship, and to see that in those guys, that's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I would think so. Now, where do you race at? I know that they have had some races here in Hayes. Tell us, where do you race in Hayes? Where's the track? And then where's some of the other places you go?
We'll race anywhere there's asphalt. And as long as it's
you watch over speed bumps too.
That might be a little bit hard on our little cars, but you know, we race at the municipal park here in Hayes, Scott City at the airport. We'll race at Beloit at the Beloit Technical School up there. We've raced on the Kansas Speedway already. We've raced in Topeka Heartland Park. We'll go anywhere that'll support us, and anywhere that we feel is a safe venue and something that the community will support. Do
you get a lot of people that come out to watch the rallies?
It seems to be growing. You know, for a long time we've been trying to get the eastern part of the state to be more active in the Kansas Electric Rally. So now we have a couple schools that are in the eastern part of the state that have gotten involved, and boy, it seems like there's, with participants there might be 1,000 people there anymore, but I'm probably exaggerating, but it just seems like more and more people are catching on, seeing what's going on, and finding a lot of interest in it.
Now, how many, let's talk about all the awards in all these years that you've been doing this now. There's been tons of them, because we see it all the time.
The kids have really done well, and that's the neat thing, for them to be rewarded for their hard work. We've been fortunate to be very successful on the track. Scott City and Beloit and Great Bend, Olathe Northwest. There's just been a ton. Clearwater have been very, very competitive, because this classification is 1A through 6A. There's no breakdown, so we're all competing against everybody in the state of Kansas, and it's competitive, and it's just a great opportunity for students to compete against each other.
And how many cars did you say you typically go at each rally?
At each rally, we usually have between 12 and 14, maybe 15 schools, and we're on the same track as colleges. 4-day state races in the same venue as we do, so we get an opportunity to test ourselves there. But usually there's about, like I said, 12 to 14 schools, maybe 15 schools, and usually between 35 and 50 cars.
Wow. So. That's pretty cool. I have to check that out sometime. So, and the kids have fun with this. It's a great new program that you've got, and I say new program, 22 years, but it seems like a new program, and we see new stuff all the time from these kids. I wish you guys well. When again do you guys start up the season? We'll start the season here at Hayes. Fort Hays State will sponsor a race. It's called the High Plains Electric Rally. Usually it's about the third week of September, and then we'll usually have another race in Hanston. That's usually somewhere in the mid-October. Very good. We'll wish you guys well. And if some people want to see your awards and all the stuff that you guys do, you probably have a web page at Hayes High, don't you?
We do. We do.
So they just go on the Hayes High website and look for the electro rally stuff?
That's right.
Okay, very good.
And they can also go to the kansaselectrorally.org, and that'll show the organization from the national standpoint and from the state.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for coming in and joining us today.
Thank you.
Should tell everybody this is not the Chris Dinkel that's running for city commission, because people think that, don't they?
They do, but I'm not the
You're
man.
not the one. Chris Dinkel is our guest today. Again, Chris is the tech ed instructor at Hayes High School. I'm Mike Kerner, thanking you for joining us today on the forum. I'm in for Gary Shorman this week. The forum brought to you by Hayes Med.
My name is Jeremy Burkholder, and I manage the Network Operations Center at Eagle Communications. My job at the Network Operations Center is ensuring that we've got the right members of the Eagle team involved in supporting our customers, resolving their issues, and making sure we meet their needs long term. Service to me is understanding my customers' needs and ensuring that we're meeting them, as well as ensuring they have a reliable product on a day-to-day basis. The favorite part of my job is when I get the opportunity to work with the great team we have at Eagle to exceed the customer's expectations and showing them what an employee-owned company can do.